As always, it is Random Topics Thursday here on channel GBoo2786. This is Gavin Reshaw with Gavin Reshaw Presents. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. We have our very special guest and friend to the show, brother Shawn James, the author of The Man Crisis. He is going to stop in and talk about his book, obviously the new John Haynes series, but we're going to be talking about a host of other things, from Deshaun Watson to COVID-19 to Andrew Cuomo. Nothing is off limits here on our channel, GBoo2786. Welcome, everyone, to Gavin Reshaw Presents. We are live, and I'm coming at you with 5. Welcome again to another edition of Gavin Reshaw Presents here on channel GBoo2786, and I am privileged to be your humble host, Gavin Reshaw. Oh, there I am right here. And you notice, guys, we're not going to have any computer issues because, of course, thanks to our hard work and dedication, I was able to get some new equipment. I'm back in the studio room. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. Of course, let's bring on our brother. Let's bring on our friend, Mr. Shawn James, author of The Man Crisis and the new John Haynes series, the John Haynes series, of course, and his latest book, John Haynes. It's not The Man with Nothing to Lose. That's the old one. The new one is John Haynes.
Taking Care of Business.
Care of Business, TCB. That's old school, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shawn. Brother, thank you for having me, and I'm sorry if you were waiting. I'll say that here because those of you originally, I actually noticed that I had the time set wrong because I said in the description 9:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, and I looked and I had it set for 9:30 Eastern, and I was out. Today is Holy Thursday. I was out at Mass, and I realized, oh crap, I set it at the wrong time. So I set it back. But whenever we drop a video, whenever we do a live stream, we always still have a great showing. And Shawn has always been blessing me by coming on this platform and bringing even some new followers. Shout out to all of them as well. And Shawn, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me on the show.
All right, let me just ask you right quick, Shawn. I'm curious, how have the sales been with the latest John Haynes series, Taking Care of Business? I want to talk about that first.
Well, the sales for John Haynes Taking Care of Business have been strong since its debut in March, and I've been rallying to try to get the sales even higher. So it's now April. I'm trying to work towards getting my first sales for the month of April. So I'm asking all the viewers to head over to Amazon to pick up John Haynes Taking Care of Business and the upcoming ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess that's coming out on April 20th.
Very good, very good. So you guys, please support our brother, and that is available on Amazon.com. Also on, I guess you can find it on Google. You can look at Barnes & Nobles will carry it, Shawn, as well.
Barnes & Noble lately has been stuck, but you can find it on Books A Million, and you can find it on other platforms. I can't remember what the name of them are. I'll check it out.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shawn.
It is on other platforms, and sometimes you may just have to ask for it online. It's on IndieBound, and it is on Books A Million right now.
Books A Million, man. Books A Million has in different city. I don't know where you're at, if Books A Million is still functioning, because the only one that we had in Louisiana, close to where I was in Baton Rouge, and they shut down. They actually had 2 stores, and so I don't know if the book industry has been how bad it has been, but I think people buy stuff online now.
Yeah, that's primarily where I get most of my sales from is online book sales, but some people do order from the store, and they get the books through there.
Okay, most definitely, most definitely. Well, anyway, I'm proud of my brother and his work. I still have some work on my book that I'm doing, and I'm trying to get out soon. You guys will hear more about it. It just things have been tied up lately because I've, of course, been busy working hard, hustling, trying to keep the lights on. But if you want to succeed in life, if you want your dreams to come true, you got to push, keep pushing, and don't let anybody tell you differently. So best advice I have. Let's get into it, Shawn. Shall we? We're going to be talking right now about a hot topic, Derrick Chauvin trial. Day 4. I don't say George Floyd trial because George Floyd is not on trial. Earlier today, of course, they had several people testify in regards to the George Floyd, the Derrick Chauvin murder. Of course, the Derrick Chauvin trial. See, I'm messing up. Of course, Derrick Chauvin was the officer that we've seen in that infamous picture kneeling on the neck of George Floyd as he begged for his life, saying he can't breathe. He can't breathe. And earlier, several people testified, including the retired Sergeant David Ploger. Ploger was of the Memphis Police Department, and he was actually a former officer, worked with Derrick Chauvin and was his supervisor, and stated that the force the officers used against George Floyd went on too long and should have ended once Floyd had been handcuffed and stopped resisting. He said further in his testimony in court, and you guys can read it here, that when Mr. Floyd was no longer offering up any resistance to the officers, they could have ended the restraint. Ploger told the court it would be reasonable to put a knee on someone's neck until they were not resisting anymore, but it should stop when they are no longer combative, he said, later adding that the officers are supposed to put restrained subjects on their side to help with their breathing, according to police policy. Of course, Ploger was the ship supervisor in charge of Chauvin and the 3 officers who responded to the call about a man trying to use a counterfeit bill at the Cup Foods and was repeatedly asked about the department's use of force policies in an attempt to establish whether Chauvin violated those protocols or acted within their bounds. Of course, a couple other people testified earlier. If you remember Gina Scurry, she actually testified on the first day of the trial back on Monday, thinking that something was wrong. She actually viewed it, I believe, from camera footage that she knew something wasn't right. Is that correct, Shawn?
I think it is. I haven't been watching the trial
Yes.
Overall, but I will go with what the reports are saying.
Well, yes, from reading this, it says that she did see it when her monitor showed the responding officers, including Chauvin, kneeling on top of Floyd. And, several other people have testified. Yesterday, an older gentleman testified, who I think his name was 61-year-old Marlon, Mr. Mervin, if I'm not mistaken, who was the older gentleman telling Mr. Floyd, George Floyd, don't resist, don't resist. Earlier today, George Floyd's fiance or girlfriend also testified, and she broke down. Both of them actually broke down on the stand when this happened. I mean, Charles McMillan was a gentleman who cried during his trial, and he said this was wrong as to what happened, and was trying to help out the situation. Certainly, when we look at situations like this, Shawn, you would think that what we saw in the video, that this may be a slam dunk case. I wouldn't dare say that because, of course, anything can happen. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty. That's just the standard. But all it takes, I can tell you all as a lawyer, and from what I know, all it takes is one juror, essentially, that can change the whole case, especially if they don't want to vote guilty with the others or vote not guilty with the others. They can hold the trial up for a long period of time, and it can end in a hung jury if they don't get a responsive verdict. All he needs is one, the defense attorney, and of course the defense. What they have tried to do is raise George Floyd's drug use, and the prosecutors have beaten them to it. Really, the prosecutors, since you haven't seen it, Shawn, I've watched it. They've been bringing it up. They brought it up when George Floyd's fiance testified girlfriend testified today talking about his opioid abuse. Courtney Ross is his girlfriend's name. She testified in court. She talked about his life as a father and son. She broke down, of course, over his death. And, a lot of people I saw even testifying to this, they were crying because even the teenagers who were there witnessing that, they felt that they could have done more to save his life. The young man who worked the register was actually at the Cups food store, who's a black kid. He actually felt guilty because had he not said it looked counterfeit and not pressed the issue with his manager, and supposedly the managers take $20 bills or will take money out of their pockets from their paycheck if something like that happens. He didn't want to do that, and that's why he brought it to his manager's attention. The owner of the Cup Foods actually went on Inside Edition today, said that doesn't happen. And remember, he even said he knew George Floyd. Remember, George Floyd frequented that shop. I've told black people countless times, we can no longer shop at places that treat us like crap. So, Shawn, I'll let you have it.
A customer came into the store
and let me just show everybody the young man who actually spoke. But Shawn, I'll let you get your take on this whole thing. What you think so far? I know you said you haven't followed it, but just to get
I haven't followed it, but I'm always very cautious because I know when you're dealing with these type of trials, I grew up with Rodney King, and the game is chess, not checkers with these kind of people. So while it looks like the testimony is very compelling for the prosecution in the beginning, we have to be very cautious because you can have very compelling testimony and evidence presented in front of you, but we'll still get this verdict because many of these people are thinking about blue and not thinking about the complete violation of George Floyd's civil rights and thinking about the way George Floyd was just mistreated as a human being. I mean, what happened there with George Floyd, the whole world saw the United States, nothing had really changed since Rodney King in his case. And what really happened here was just a great disaster overall because it showed that, again, nothing has really changed as related to issues of race here in America. And it showed that police are still using excessive force on black people. So the testimony here, yes, it's very compelling, but we don't know how the jury is going to go out here and give us a verdict because the big problem is the fix could be in with this jury, which has a lot of these Africans or foreign blacks on there, and it has a lot of these immigrants on there. So I really don't know how it's going to go with this whole thing. But the testimony is very compelling. And the whole thing is this whole incident should make everybody in the United States sick because this incident really shows how far our country has really fallen. And it just shows how hypocritical America is because we always talk about equal justice and equal rights, but we clearly saw that during this pandemic, we still were going to get black men still getting mistreated. And I said that this would be the thing that really would explode during the pandemic. I said to myself that if we have a black man murdered by the police, it was going to explode because you had all this tension going on as related to these lockdowns. And that tension wound up exploding because of all of these people who were just locked down and they saw their rights being restricted. And they saw this as a further restriction of their rights. And the legal precedent that would be set by this case, if your Derrick Chauvin was acquitted, would be a further curtailing of Americans' rights, similar to what happened with the Cosby conviction. And a lot of Americans aren't really looking at the big picture as related to things because the excessive force here, that if it gets justified by this jury, is going to be used on other Americans. And this is just about setting legal precedent. And a lot of people need to really think about this because what they did to George Floyd could happen to somebody else. And that's why Americans really need to take a serious look at this whole trial and take it very seriously.
Well, yes, this has happened to countless black men over the years. This was just caught on tape. But like so many others, like you said, Shawn, we have had countless incidents that have been on tape, even before George Floyd, where the other guy, where it's clear, but yet you're still not going to get a conviction because, like with Rodney King, they moved the trial to Simi Valley, which is uh, a very wealthy suburb, mostly conservative, white neighborhood, where they didn't see Rodney King basically as an innocent bystander. And not to say that Rodney King didn't engage in criminal activity, because there was a high speed chase that was involved, but did you have to beat this man 56 times in his head? Did you have to render him unconscious? Did you have to do anything like that? Did you have to hospitalize him when he's down on the ground? And the answer clearly was no, but they saw that, they didn't care, and all hell broke loose. And then also to add to that, before you had the death of Latasha Harlins, who was shot in the back of her head. Uh, and that verdict, they gave him voluntary manslaughter. And I know there are mitigating circumstances, especially someone's a first time offender and they did this, but this was a child, this was somebody that was shot over orange juice that she paid for. And the witnesses even contradicted the assailant in what she was saying. So Computer Robot says that you think Thomas Lane and the other officers should also be held accountable. They will be. They just haven't started their trial yet. They all, I believe, are going to be charged with the same thing. They're going to be charged, I guess, as accessories before the fact, or accessories to either second-degree murder or manslaughter. Now, if Derrick Chauvin is likely not convicted of it, will not be convicted of it, then it might go out and help the other officers, because they were the ones, two of them at least, were not on George Floyd. They gave $27 million to the family. I thought that was a mistake. And I say that because I think they could have gotten even more money out of it.
Yeah, but I can see the chess moves being made here, because usually what the government tries to do is they try to give the people, the family, a cash settlement, and then they go out here and acquit the officers. So that's a red flag for me right there. But if they're allowed to do that, it's really going to hurt America's civil rights narrative, and it's also going to hurt America's public image internationally, because you can't talk about human rights violations in other countries, and then you're going to have cases like this of Bill Cosby, where he's railroaded by the criminal justice system, and the murder of George Floyd. If he's acquitted, it really makes you look like a hypocrite when you're sitting there talking to people like communist China and North Korea about their human rights violations, when you're still mistreating Black Americans and not giving them justice.
Yeah, I most definitely agree with that. And Black Americans not getting justice in this country, there's only so long you can do. There's only so long you can do when you keep pushing someone over and over the edge. And I can imagine. Let me ask you this: do you think we're going to see uprisings if this officer is acquitted?
I definitely do believe we're going to see uprisings, because this case really, it showed how hypocritical Americans are, and a lot of Americans are still frustrated about this whole COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of Americans are unemployed and out of work, and they look at this case as a step to try to take away their freedoms in this country. And they see it as these, especially because this is a left-leaning state, Democrats trying to take away their rights. And they see it as a way of saying that a Black life doesn't matter. So people are really looking at this case, and they're not really trusting the people in government. So if this case doesn't end in a conviction, we may see this country explode once again. And I don't think people are ready for that type of explosion, that right again, because They're thinking they can contain this type of anger, but as I wrote in my book, The Man Crisis, you have a lot of simmering and boiling and angry people. And as the country starts to open up, we're starting to see a lot more of these angry people, you know, going out here and participating in acts of violence. And if we get a Derrick Chauvin acquittal, we could see a nuclear type explosion like we saw at the Capitol building if this Derrick Chauvin winds up getting acquitted.
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, most definitely. I think that certainly can happen. Salute to Derrick. Derrick is in the building. What's up, Derrick Bailey? All right. He says salute Shawn, salute Gavin. Yeah, I think there'll be uprisings. But then if there are uprisings, I'm wondering what would be the response though from the Biden administration, because typically what we have seen, our presidents will say when these things have happened, uh, virtually the same things about law and order. Remember when Donald Trump got in trouble just last year when he talked about the looting, when the looting starts, the shooting, when the looting begins, the shooting begins, or something along those lines. And he got criticized for making those comments, and understandably so. But remember, even when he talks about thugs and hooligans, he also said that President Obama said the same thing. President Obama called the kids in Baltimore thugs and hooligans and talked about maintaining law and order. So I see Joe Biden. I'm wondering what's going to happen then from the liberal media, how they're going to react when Biden says the same thing. Because Biden, Jim Crow Joe, and Top Cop Kamala have always been on the side of the law enforcement. They have always been, and then some. And look, I'm not against law enforcement per se. Yes, we can't have a society without law and order. But when you are supporting a racist system, when you are supporting white supremacy, when you're around like Joe Biden and his whole career, let's be real honest about it, Shawn, the man put laws in place that hurt black people. Donald Trump may have said things bad about black people, but he didn't put laws like Joe Biden did. Joe Biden is somebody that really should not have even been, and I'm saying he shouldn't have even been nominated as president. The only reason he did was because people dropped out of the race.
Yeah. But if we have those riots like that, this might be the jump the shark moment of the whole Biden presidency. Because if they come out here saying that the black people are thugs, people are going to say go back to Joe Biden's record as related to him being associated with racists, and they're going to go out here and bring up things like the crowd to powder cocaine law. They're going to talk about the '94 crime bill. And your Joe Biden is not going to look very good optically. And if he goes out here talking about how black people are thugs, this would be the nail in the coffin for him. And the reason why it would be the nail in the coffin for him is because he went out here and presented this whole narrative about different things as related to black people. And we already have him on tape saying he wanted to do nothing for black people. So if he comes out here, this would be, again, the nail in the coffin for his presidency, because many on the right are going to call him a hypocrite, which they're already calling him right now, but they'll have confirmed evidence of his hypocrisy, and it'll send him down in flames, his whole presidency, and he'll lose all complete credibility. So this whole situation, if we get riots and we get him sitting there talking about law and order, that's going to be the absolute end for him as related to his whole credibility as related to being a president. And his whole platform is just going to continue to crumble. And the Democrats' platform will crumble as well, because people will now see that they're not about getting justice, because the video we saw was absolutely egregious. And what this officer and these officers did was nothing short of what happens in a fascist state, and it was just absolutely inhumane to do this man like this. So you can sit there and talk about law and order, but all you're going to do is be seen as a hypocrite. And many of these leftists, they're going to wind up being seen as a bunch of hypocrites, a bunch of liars, and they're going to lose all of their credibility. And their Republicans who rivals are going to capitalize on this, and they're going to beat Joker Joe and the Democrats with a sledgehammer all throughout 2022 and 2024.
Yeah. Well, I think the hammer is already hammers in hand already, and people are chipping away because now, and I'll get to this topic later because we talked about this. My father just realized that Biden is trying to amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to include transgenders, which we've already talked about because that's in the Equality Act too. What they're trying to do with the Equality Act, if that doesn't get passed, I guess he may try and amend that through Congress. But the Equality Act essentially would adapt and make it where the LGBTQ are part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which was designed and set up for Black Americans originally. That's what Lyndon Johnson even said himself. I passed this because of Black people, and that might be the nail in the coffin there. What we're seeing, we saw it earlier when he was revoking many of Trump's things and then pushing for, the transgender in the bathroom bills, these high schools. A lot of people don't like that. So that might be something to watch in the future. I certainly think it'll be a factor.
Yeah, it definitely will be a factor. And if he continues on trying to push things like this civil rights revision of the civil rights bill, he's going to wind up alienating a lot of people because a lot of people do not support a lot of these bills that he's pushing as related to the alphabet community. And this type of stuff that he's promoting, it just turns a lot of the voting blocks off, especially the big voting blocks of white females and the voting blocks of many of Blacks and many other minorities. They really aren't about giving this 1% of the population this type of access to revising these civil rights laws because they've received many benefits over the years. I mean, many people in the alphabet community, they have been running the entertainment industry and many other businesses. So where are they being victimized? And they've already gotten many pieces of legislation passed for their benefit. So what is this all about, trying to take over the civil rights thing and take away rights from Black people?
Well, it's about destroying the family unit and certainly pushing us further and further into an underclass, like I told the Honorable Judge Joe Brown this past week. That's essentially what's going to happen. And I think we may have talked about it, but what you thought of Rachel Levine becoming Biden's new health secretary? I think we talked about that.
We did talk about it, and it just shows how mentally ill many in America are to just have this man running as your health secretary. I mean, this man is mentally ill. Why would you put a crazy person over health? I mean, this is something that's diametrically opposed to what a health secretary is. I think you would want to get somebody who is mentally stable to be your health secretary, because that person would be a better logical and critical thinker, especially during something like a pandemic. But to get a mentally ill individual and put them in that role, all because you want a virtue signal, just shows how deeply twisted and messed up this Biden presidency is. Now, when I think about their agendas that are anti-family, if you destroy the family, you're going to destroy America, because you cannot have an America that functions without the family, and you need the family working together, because the family is a part of God's natural order. Because if the man is not in his place as head of household, you get nothing but chaos. And that is shown to us with the Black community over the last 50 years, where the Black woman has been the head of household. And with her as the head of household, we have seen the entire community completely collapse. Now, if we destroy the family here in this country, what will happen is the entire country will collapse and will be worse than a third world country, because at least a third world country has a family structure But if you destroy the family, you don't have any infrastructure, you don't have any economy, you don't have anything, because nobody values anything, because the only way people value things is because they see a legacy passed on, because the father creates things that are of wealth. And this is a point I make in my new ISIS series book coming out in 2022, ISIS Legacy. The father creates things that are valuable tangibly, but the mother teaches why these things are valuable. So you need a family unit in order to have a country and a culture. And if you don't have those elements, you're going to have nothing but anarchy and chaos. And this is what many in the alphabet community don't understand. I mean, you're not going to have a permanent underclass. You're going to have a completely collapsed country, because without family, nobody cares about anything.
Yeah, most definitely. And this was what was said earlier today. Dr. Rachel Levine states transgender healthcare is an equity issue, not a political one. Yeah, right. Certainly they've made it a political one. They've made all of it political because, that's the number one political issue today. You speak out against it, you're going to lose your job. You do anything. Biden has made it his top. Remember, he said when he gets in office, LGBTQ is his number one priority.
Yeah.
And he did that. So
he's going to destroy the country if he goes down that road.
He's already gone. We're already down that road. He's already done. I know. He's already done it, and it's gonna. It certainly is gonna backfire. I think next year, and even this year, because even with these mayor races going along, I don't think these mayoral races that are going on necessarily will be affected, but I think more and more Black people are waking up to the Democratic Party as we speak. So the next thing I wanted to talk about too is, of course, this situation that's going on with Deshaun Watson. Now, we've talked about it before, but more and more new information is coming out. And for those who have been paying attention, I'm going to play a video. I don't know if I might get hit with a copyright, but I want y'all to please, there's a reason why, honestly, I have gotten out of watching sports channels. I still watch them from time to time, but back in the day, like when I want to say about a few years ago, I used to watch Undisputed. I used to watch First Take, and I guess Undisputed was a little bit better when Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless on there than obviously Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. But I want y'all to take a look at this. This actual clip, so y'all could see the level, the level of cooning that goes on, especially this feminist agenda that goes on here. I want y'all to take a look at it. Let's see if I'm gonna share the screen right now so you can see the video. I guess I don't know if I need to talk over it because it's from ESPN. I might have a copyright issue by playing it, but this is, this is what they're talking about is the Deshaun Watson case. This was a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, so during yesterday's First Take, we learned Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson has been accused of sexual assault in a third civil lawsuit.
All right, that's
the lawsuit accuses Watson of forcing a massage therapist to perform oral sex on him in December 2020. The massage therapist says she felt intimidated and threatened, that Watson repeatedly made clear that he could help or hurt her career, and that she did not consent to the oral sex. These are the developments from later on Thursday. Now, Houston attorney Tony Busby says there are now nine total cases against Watson. And this morning we learned of a seventh.
Now, it's not 9 anymore. Now it's 21. But earlier today, there was support from several masseuses who have worked with Watson and have disputed these claims. But I'm going to continue to play the video because I want you just to see what mainstream media does with these situations. They attack Black. And keep in mind, ESPN didn't have this type of energy when Chad Wheeler was accused of nearly murdering his Black girlfriend. So I'm going to continue to play it. But I want y'all to hear this.
Lawsuit that has been
Please.
filed. NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy said that the matter is under review as part of the league's personal conduct policy. Busby told ESPN that the police have already reached out and we will be sending a package with information related to all 9 cases to the police. Houston police declined to. The DA's office said it has yet to receive any information on the matter. Busby posted to Instagram images of messages that he indicated were between Watson and 2 of the women, and Busby will hold a news conference today in Houston at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Watson denied allegations in the first civil suit. That was on Tuesday, but he has not commented since then. Okay. Stephen A., I'll start with you. What do you make of these latest developments?
Same thing I made of it yesterday. Deshaun Watson seems to be in a world of trouble. If one allegation against you is bad enough, then it was 3. As of last night, it was 6. As of this morning, it's 7. And we're hearing
It's an accusation.
the attorney, Mr. Busby, saying it's now 9.
Mr. Smith.
So when you look at it from that perspective, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire in a lot of people's mind. My phraseology for such things is that if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, and ain't a damn mongoose. But in the end, we don't know. You definitely want all the facts to come out. You definitely want to attach presumption of innocence just because it's supposed to be the American way, which is what I think a lot of people in our society have forgotten about along the way. You're innocent until proven guilty. But nevertheless, because of the climate that exists, particularly in the NFL, where the NFL has a license to exact punishment against you just for allegations alone. We've seen them do it in the past. These are not criminal cases. These are civil cases, from my understanding. But one of the things that I think need to be explored is that even though these are civil cases, that's as it pertains to the individuals making the allegations against you. That doesn't necessarily involve the state of Texas. I think that I'm not sure, so I don't want to speak. I've got to edify myself on the laws in Texas, but I do believe that if Texas is under the impression that you've broken the law, they've got a right to prosecute you, even if the folks making the allegations aren't cooperative. They can sit up there and decide to push forward. And so when you have that specter hovering over you, you're a player in the National Football League, a league in which they've collectively bargained to have the right to punish you, even in the event that you might be found innocent, or the charges are dropped, or the case is settled, or whatever. You still have to deal with the NFL shield saying you've impugned and sullied our brand. So all of those things being considered, at this particular moment in time, puts Deshaun Watson in a world of trouble. As far as I'm concerned, it definitely compromises his desire to get out of Houston for the Texans. It's just a bad situation all around. And I got to tell you, if you're the Houston Texans, this is not a good position for you to be in. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing good. I'm certainly not trying to imply that there's anything good about this. But certainly whatever leverage, perceived leverage Deshaun Watson had, has now been severely compromised. I think it's safe to say that. And then if we take into account the state of Texas, listen, man, I got to tell you something, Max, on a personal level for me. I remember when Roger Clemens went to testify on Capitol Hill, as to whether or not he was using PEDs and all of this
Stephen
stuff.
A. always been a clown.
Daring them to subpoena him, okay? The most idiotic. He might be the dumbest athlete in the history of sport that I've ever seen do something like that, right? I remember him going up there and seeing politicians wanting to take pictures with him, stuff like that. Why do I bring that up? Because they can support you, or they can turn against you. And if what I said, what I've intimated is true about the state of Texas, with this guy wanting to leave, you never know what kind of friction you may have cultivated with some of those folks because you want to leave their state, and what kind of role this plays in that as well from a legal perspective. All the way across the board, Deshaun Watson seems to be in some trouble. It is not a pretty picture for him right now, though.
I have little to add to what you said and what I said yesterday. Mm-hmm. Other than I do agree that the more women step forward, the more proportionally I think the public finds the charges or the accusations credible. Because if many women step forward telling a similar story, for obvious reasons, it doesn't look good for the accused.
Okay, let me just stop right there. He says that if multiple women step forward with similar stories, it doesn't look good for the accused. We know from history that you can have multiple accusers, Max Kellerman. You can have multiple accusers, Stephen A. Smith. That does not make you guilty because it is an accusation. The root word of accuser means to accuse, to accustom someone of something. These are allegations that have yet to be proven in a court of law. And what's most important is that they're all lawsuits. They are not criminal charges, and none of these women have supposedly stepped forward, revealing their names. Remember, under the Sixth Amendment, you have a right to confront your accuser or accusers, the confrontation clause. That has not been activated because Deshaun Watson is innocent. He is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. But let's continue the video. It's got about 3 minutes and 50 something left.
A civil suits, the burden
I'm gonna
of
let
proof is
Shawn
lower
talk
than in
afterwards.
criminal suits. And yet there is a burden of proof. There's a presumption of innocence. And of course, as I said yesterday, we have, I all hope, become more sensitive culturally to the fact that oftentimes accusers are not believed, and oftentimes they are in fact victims. I would say when balancing those two ideas, the burden of proof and not immediately disbelieving accusers, that those two things don't mean that burden of proof doesn't mean that.
You know, I'm glad HBO got rid of your ass when they got rid of the whole. They had to get rid of the whole boxing program. HBO doesn't do boxing anymore. We've been blessed not to have Max Kellerman on HBO.
That the best course of action is to reserve
I would have
judgment
taken even racist
until the
ass
facts
Larry
come out.
Merchant over
And
you.
that's what I intend to do. But I do agree, every time another woman steps forward, it looks worse as of now.
And like I said, I just finished looking it up a little bit again. You know, I don't know for sure. That needs to be checked. I want to make sure I preface my comments by saying that. But my understanding is that the state of Texas can pursue charges against someone, even if the allegations made by the alleged victim isn't pursued from their perspective. The
state can feel there's evidence enough to bring charges.
And they can also, you know, try to get corroborating evidence from other witnesses to validate the claims made or the allegations made against someone and elect to pursue the issue moving forward.
There's one charge in particular, so far, one accusation in particular,
yes,
that certainly looks like a criminal charge, if they find it credible, would be brought.
Stephen A. going off
Which
on
means
Chad
that
Wheeler
Deshaun
like he's
Watson
going on
has
Deshaun Watson.
You know,
Please.
listen, if he is completely innocent, I applaud him for fighting the good fight in terms of saying, no, I'm not gonna, they tried to settle with me. I refuse to do so. I'm innocent of this. But right now, it just looks so bad.
Well, he did say he looks forward to clearing his name, and your name is what you got.
Yeah,
Marcus Spears was talking about this yesterday. Yeah, your last name is what you got.
That was Tuesday. A lot more has come out since then. Yeah, he hasn't spoken since then.
But my point is, he will have his chance to clear his name. We will see.
I don't care.
Facts will come out, and judgments will be made.
Yeah, my question is how or what facts? Because at the end of the day, if you've got 7 different cases against you, potentially 9, right? It might come down. It might come down for him anyway. To he said.
Let me stop. Let me just address Molly Quorum right quick. Remember this too, Shawn. I think it was a couple years ago when they had LeVar Ball on. And remember, LeVar Ball got suspended or got banned from ESPN because Molly Quorum asked, let's switch gears. And he said, okay, we can switch gears at any time. You can switch gears with me at any time. Remember that? Yeah. And they made him out to be like he was making a pass of some sorts at Molly Quorum.
Yeah.
got banned. And I've had countless videos. Tariq Nasheed, shout out to King Flex, has countless receipts. They call him the king of receipts. He had videos of Miley Querim even making sexually suggestive comments on her job with her co-host when she was on NFL Network. Remember, she was on NFL Network before she was on ESPN.
Multiple accusers. It's not he said, she said. It's he said, and she said, and she said, and she said, and she said, and
that's
she said.
that's my point. My point is because of that, because again, it's his word against this, and whereas you might not have to settle, and you might not get convicted of a criminal offense, you still got to deal with the NFL. Not to mention all the endorsements and everything else. Who's going to touch him?
None of this is good.
It's not good. It's not good.
Not at all. And obviously, we're getting details in real time. I'm getting them through email here. So as this continues to unfold, we'll keep you up to speed, and the fellas will react throughout the show if anything else happens. We will get that information to you. Fellas, let's leave it there. When we come back.
What information? Now, let me show you guys some more stuff. Butterflies, this is not a pink shirt. This is orange. This is an orange fleece. But I get the joke. Let me just show this because Shawn has been quiet, but I will show this to you all. I'm going to get Shawn in a second. But this is from the New York Post. You guys want to see this. 18 massage therapists come to Deshaun Watson's defense amid sexual assault lawsuits. Embattled Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson, and he's facing 21 lawsuits now alleging sexual misconduct, is finding support from more than a dozen physical and massage therapists. Watson's lawyer, Rusty Hardin, on Wednesday released testimonials from 18 women who said the claims against the NFL star are wholly inconsistent with their experiences with him and who they believe him to be. The women said in separate statements that they never experienced anything that's being claimed in the various lawsuits. Collectively, they have worked with Deshaun more than 130 times over the past 5 years. Hardin said in a statement, "These statements show the other side to this story that has been so lacking in the flurry of anonymous complaints filed by opposing counsel." Hardin says that the women made these statements voluntarily and that they have worked in the industry varying from a number of years. I began working for Deshaun for providing massage therapy to Deshaun in 2018 and have massaged him at least 40 times since then. I worked with him once or twice a week during the season and as needed during the off season. Early on, he said he wanted me to focus on his hamstrings and just to work the lactic acid out of his legs. Jas Brooks, a medical staff member for Team USA track and field team and a licensed massage therapist, said this included the growing glutes and feet. He has never asked me any questions and hardly even spoke at all. In all that time, I never had a single uncomfortable or inappropriate experience with Deshaun. Kaya Hillman, a retired disabled veteran, also said that she worked on Watson 3 times between October and December 2020. I worked with Deshaun Watson to give him full body scrubs and body wraps. At no time did he act inappropriate with me. If he did, I would have talked with him and handled it with him, she said in her own statement. Other women have described him as professional, respectful, and the sweetest guy. What's also interesting, Norma Reyna, who also spoke and talked about how Watson was cordial and never acted inappropriately. She criticized the women accusing Watson of inappropriate conduct. She said, "There's a professional way to deal with it. If a therapist feels uncomfortable at any time during the session, he or she has the ability to end the session immediately and file a complaint with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations and vice versa. You don't go get a lawyer and file a lawsuit or go to the news media. You file a complaint immediately." She also stated up here in this paragraph that there's a proper and professional way to address this area with proper draping and communication, referring to where the lower body where athletes typically want their therapist to work on. She said, when working the abductors and growing pelvic area, it is not uncommon to accidentally graze the penis, but you don't engage it. I teach my students to use a firmer touch or to move to a different area if a client gets aroused during a session, which sometimes happens. All right, Shawn. So he's unlike those that have accused Deshaun Watson. These supporters have actually come out by name. What is your 2 cents on it, my friend? And also, if you could start on what happened with ESPN First Take.
Well, when I listen to the ESPN First Take, there clearly is an anti black stance in those arguments. I mean, when I listen to Stephen A. Smith and his bootlicking, he clearly is trying to gain some brownie points with his ESPN Disney slave masters. So when I listen to this whole case as related to Deshaun Watson and many of the talking points, especially the ones on ESPN, I can refute many of these talking points by asking one critical question. Where is the police report? Now, if this Deshaun Watson was a serial sexual assaulter, you would think several of these women would have filed some sort of criminal report with the police. They would be trying to get this man off the street before he could go out here and do harm to another masseuse. And they would not be going out here seeking any sort of civil court case. No, they would be in criminal court. I mean, we are in this era of so-called Me Too, and we're supposed to be about stopping sexual harassment and stopping sexual assault. So if these women were really serious about trying to deal with Deshaun Watson's alleged sexual predation, they would have been going to the police first, and they would have also filed records with as related to what the other masseuses have said, filing complaints through proper channels so that there could be a paper trail on your Deshaun Watson, because that paper trail would let other masseuses know that this man is acting inappropriately, and they would probably flag his name even if he tried to go to any other masseuse, because when there's an incident where people are abusing power, usually you're going to have people out here looking to file some sort of complaint, and there would be a record of series of complaints with this man. That's all part of the procedure with things, you would think, because if there's no paper trail as related to your Deshaun Watson's alleged sexual predation, then we have to question a lot of what's going on here. Because if there's guidelines for this group of masseuses to follow as related to their profession, as related to dealing with inappropriate touching, inappropriate conduct, there would be a paper trail for the police to go pick up on when there was a police report filed. See, there's a pattern here that would emerge, and there would be records as related to that pattern. Once the police report was filed, detectives, on doing their investigation, would then go to the masseuses group and they would ask about, hey, does this guy have any records of complaints? And that would further bluster their case, and that would further allow them to delve deeper into their investigation and have hard evidence as related to any sort of sexual predation from Deshaun Watson. But we don't see any sort of evidence being presented here. No, we see a whole lot of lawsuits being filed, but filing a lawsuit in civil court is not the same as criminal court. Yes, you're going to try this case in the court of public opinion, but there is no evidence of any sort of criminal activity. Now, what I find to be interesting is that this case continues to escalate, and it's only escalating as I see it because your Deshaun Watson asks for a trade. And it seems like the only reason why Deshaun Watson is being targeted for this whole campaign is because he decided to ask for a trade, and he decided to look out for his own economic interests, because it seems like the lawyer who going out here and filed all these lawsuits is a friend of the Texans owner. And it seems like he keeps finding more and more people who try to demonize your Deshaun Watson and make him out to be a black brute. And they're all doing this to discredit him so he cannot go out here and work for another team. And it's very similar to what happened to Colin Kaepernick a couple of years ago. Now, I don't like your Colin Kaepernick because of his social justice platform, but I can see a similar pattern to the way they're trying to demonize and malign Deshaun Watson to Colin Kaepernick, because just like Kaepernick, he was asking for a trade and he was looking to look out for his own economic interests, because as a quarterback, he did not want to be on a losing team and he did not want to continue losing money and further damaging his own brand. And I think the NFL owners have a problem with the whole idea of a black man seeking to empower himself and a black man seeking to take control over his career. So I think the main reason why they're trying to demonize your Deshaun Watson is because they don't like the idea of this black man being a leader and taking control over his career. Meanwhile, guys like your Tom Brady's and your Ben Roethlisberger's, they can ask for trades and it's no problem with many of the white male owners. But if the black man wants to go out here and say he wants to leave one NFL plantation and go to another, that's when they try to go out here and try to participate in a high-tech lynching to demonize that black man, destroy his reputation, and prevent him from ever being able to work the same way Colin Kaepernick was not allowed to work in the NFL after he made a request for a trade.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this. Stephen A. Smith, remember a couple of years ago when he got suspended off of his show, off First Take, when he made some remarks about Ray Rice punching his wife or his fiance at that time. Well, he didn't, striking his fiance, I should say. And he made the remark about how women have to be careful around men because, men are physically, if a brother tells you back off, back off, things of that nature. And he got suspended for 2 weeks for making that remark. And then Michelle Beadle, his co-worker, came at him on Twitter because of that, talking about why I didn't leave and all this stuff. First and foremost, she was wrong because she violated company policy. On ESPN's policy, they are not allowed to attack other employees on social media. And she didn't get fired for that. Stephen A. was the one that got punished. And Stephen A. got out there like a little boy when they clipped his nuts, crying, upset and how he offended everyone. But then let's not forget sometime later or even before that, when Mark Cuban made remarks about how he would be scared if a white man with a bald-headed white man with a tattoo approached him and a black man with a hoodie and apologized. And Stephen A. Smith defended him for that and said, I don't give a damn who in the black community gets offended by me. You don't give a damn. You don't give a damn. I remember Terrell Owens said Max Kellerman was blacker than you, Stephen A., with your Afro-American Jason Voorhees hairline. RoboCop hairline. Lois! They'll fix you. They'll fix everything. What's happening, Murphy? Punk mother. I do not like. I've fallen out with Stephen A. I don't care that he's an Omega. I don't care that he's a black man on ESPN making money. Guess what? It's not making me money. This is a guy, I even to a certain degree, I've seen Shannon Sharp kind of do a little bit of a little cooning a little bit here and then. He says some positive stuff, but even he was kind of half-stepping with the Deshaun Watson. No, Skip, no, I don't think so, Skip, I can't see it, Skip. I can't see, Skip. And Shannon will say some positive stuff, but I've noticed a lot of these guys, they won't go all out, And I think part of it has to do with the fact, about their finance, tied to money, tied to the network. I have seen Shannon. I prefer Shannon obviously more than I prefer Stephen A. But a lot of these guys, especially when these athletes start talking about social justice issues, they start talking politics, and they don't have a clue of what they're talking about. Stephen A. Smith is I remember Stephen A. Smith actually said he would have loved to have been an attorney to beat the late Johnny Cochran in the O.J. Simpson case. Johnny Cochran would have waxed that ass just like he did Chris Darden and Marsha Clark. Hell, he didn't need the whole dream team. He could have done it by himself. That's how bad Johnny Cochran was as a lawyer. He brought a racist police department down to its knees. He exposed them in that trial. See, Shawn, you're a little older than me, but you watched the O.J. Simpson case, I'm sure.
Yeah, I saw it.
And when you watched that case, did you see if the prosecutors could prove their case?
There was no way they could prove it. I mean, from what I saw, they were running on emotion and they had no real facts. I mean, Johnny Cochran had facts, he had evidence, he presented a solid argument, and there was no way to refute many of his arguments. The prosecution in the O.J. Simpson trial was primarily running on the emotions of talking about how O.J. was obsessed and stalking Nicole, but it didn't add up because how is O.J. Simpson this stalker who's obsessed with Nicole when he has the phone numbers of a Playboy model and he's talking to other women? That doesn't seem like a man who's obsessed with his ex-wife. And it doesn't seem like he's obsessed with his ex-wife if he's making plans to go to a fast food restaurant to get some food and then go out here afterwards to get on a plane to go halfway across the country. So,
yeah,
he was going into Chicago. So it doesn't look like he's this psychotic, obsessed stalker. I mean, like they were presenting in the trial. They had him like he was this guy who was psychotic and obsessed, and he was so infatuated with Nicole. But when you look at the evidence, it just was not there. But the evidence was there that Nicole was involved with some shady individuals. But prosecution didn't want to talk about that because Marsha Clark and Chris Darden had stars in their eyes, and they wanted to get fame from convicting a celebrity black man. And that's all they wanted to do. They really were not looking at the facts of the case like I was looking at the facts of the case. I looked at the facts of the case objectively, and I said to myself, there was no way O.J. Simpson participated in this murder because he had no motive to participate in this murder. I mean, this man, after going to his daughter's recital, went back to go get him some food, went back to pack his stuff to go to this trip to Chicago, and he wasn't really thinking about Nicole in any way, shape, or form. He had practically moved on because, again, what stalker has the number of another woman and plans to make calls to her? Because there was reports he was talking to this other Playboy model. I don't know what her name was, but
even disregarding that, there are letters where I've seen this. There's a letter that was actually going to be introduced in evidence. I think it was where Nicole, act by the defense, Nicole wrote OJ trying to get back with him.
Yeah.
On top of that, when the jurors were, the judge dismissed the jury, he had the jury wait in their chambers. He interviewed, not interviewed, but there are two men, mafia hitmen, the Fiato brothers, that testified at that trial, out of view of the jury. So you all got to consider that. Then, of course, the planting of the glove, the planting of the sock, there's videotape evidence of it. Judge Joe Brown was talking about it on the show. The people who actually towed the truck, the Bronco, they all testified that when the car was brought in the impound for blood, for any blood, did they see any blood? The tow truck driver, I believe, was Ernie Durrell. He testified no. When it got to the police impound, there was all of this blood. There was blood that he gave in a inner tube that you give when you donate blood. There has CA in it. They found out, well, the sock that he had, the so-called bloody sock, the blood that was missing was the same amount from that tube, and there was EDTA in it, which is not a chemical that is in your body. So they like to ignore all of this stuff. People like, you know, and it's not surprising because Stephen A is a big coon. That's all he is. He's a big-time waterhead coon. He's, you know, if this was slavery, this would be the. If this was slavery and we were Nat Turner and Denmark Vesey, he would be the one ratting on us to massa, or he'd give you the blade with the screws out of it. That's who Stephen A. Smith is.
He's a bootleg. He's a white bootleg. So
like that.
He's a black bootleg.
He cut loose.
Yeah.
Have nothing to do with him. So I'm glad I showed that video on ESPN. You know, there's a reason really why I really stopped messing with ESPN in general. Is because of that. Like that rubbed me the wrong way. We want to do something, like I said, let's look at creating a network and creating a sports network. But this is the type of stuff, you know, Deshaun Watson and others have to go through. I'm hoping the brother is able to clear his name if he is truly innocent. You know, it seems like it's nothing but a money hustle. And, you know, even when you look at articles, I just shared this right quick. I'll share this right quick. But this is an article from Yahoo News where they said, and if innocent or not, Deshaun Watson is a stark reminder we don't really know our favorite athlete. So basically, you're saying when I look at that title, and it's written by Shalise Manza Young. Well, let's click on this profile. It's a dead giveaway.
Yeah. Another SJW, looks like a lesbian and feminist.
But definitely feminist.
And she's got him out to be a black brute. So this is propaganda. This is not objective journalism. They've got the guy out to be the next super brute, because I talk about this whole concept of brute of the month. And what they want to do is turn Deshaun Watson into the next super brute so they can have a reason to go after black men by proxy by destroying this black man.
You know, Yahoo, I'm going to say this to Yahoo, you all ought to be ashamed. I haven't even read the article, but just having a title like this tells me that you're biased in your report.
Yeah, they are.
And
that's not objective journalism.
You ought to be ashamed, and this goes for any other artist, for any other writer, for any other newspaper. When you have crap like this, you're supposed to be objective. You are not supposed to be biased in your reporting as a media. It's called journalistic integrity. This is not journalist integrity. This is not journalism.
Nope, it's propaganda.
Thank you. It's propaganda. And that's exactly the reason you talk about why people don't believe women. This is exactly what it is. Y'all are going off just accusations with no proof. Some of you, I'm pretty sure, if their sons and daughters, or if their sons were accused of a crime, they would want everybody to be on their child's side. So, best thing anybody can do, quit supporting these people. Quit supporting these people. On the cold thing about how the family actually believed the prosecution, look, they have phone records that showed Nicole Brown Simpson was still alive after midnight, talking to her parents. If you read the book, by the Dr. Henry Johnson, if you look at him, his book, A Double Cross for Blood, he details it. In Pursuit of Exhibit 35 by his brother T.H. Johnson. You can look at it. I mean, even with several people that were tied with Nicole and Ron Goldman died in the same manner. Michael Nigg, Brett Cantor.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of evidence that points different in a different direction than O.J. Simpson. And if you look at the evidence objectively, you can see that O.J. Simpson did not participate in this murder. I mean, when I did my own research into Nicole Brown's background, it pointed a finger at some other people because she was involved with a lot of shady individuals. And nobody wants to investigate those individuals because I believe they were tied to criminal enterprise, and they don't want to go after those people because, again, it does not fit their narrative. And going after those people, it could have lasting ramifications to a lot of these prosecutors and other people.
Most definitely, and it's like what Tariq Nasheed said. The OJ did it industry is a multi-million-dollar industry. Remember the advertisement that was done during that trial. Everybody was glued to it. Black people, we watched that trial more than whites because a lot of us, and I'm not trying to fulfill stereotypes or nothing, but that was in the 90s. A lot of us may have not been working. It was during the summer when a lot of that stuff was going on. I remember the Bronco chase. My mom, I remember when the actual trial started, she had been in the hospital and we watched some of it. And I remember watching that case vividly. I remember when OJ put the gloves on and it didn't fit. And they tried to say, well, he was taking some medicine that he had arthritis. That's why it had it. No, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
OJ Simpson, that glove was an XL. OJ Simpson's hands are at least a double X.
Yeah. And I know from myself from having gloves that leather contracts when it becomes moist. So I know leather expands when it becomes moist. It does not contract. It expands because I've had leather gloves. I had a really nice pair of leather gloves. They got wet and they expand. So if the glove didn't fit, it didn't fit for a reason.
If it doesn't fit, you must have quit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I got a couple more things, Shawn. I don't want to keep you too long because I know it's getting a little late. But y'all please support our brother Shawn James and buy the latest book, John Haynes Taking Care of Business, that's out right now. Please support him. I did want to talk to you about the Black Lives Matter. This was something I discussed with Judge Joe Brown earlier on. Black Lives Matter, I call it that for a reason. I'm actually going to be doing it on my podcast. But as you know, recently, Samira Rice, who is Tamir Rice's mother, has been very vocal about many of the dealings of Black Lives Matter. Tamika Mallory was selling Cadillacs as of now. I've also seen videos of. Did you see the Cadillac commercial, Shawn?
Yes, I did. I saw the Cadillac commercial. And I have to ask a critical question. When do grassroots civil rights activists participate in advertising for a luxury brand? That's a critical question a lot of Black people need to ask about Tamika Mallory, because here we have a grassroots civil rights activist who's supposed to be, basically living on the ground and just basically struggling to survive. And now she's the face of a luxury brand, and the highest brand here as related to General Motors. Now, these are two concepts that are diametrically opposed to one another, and they show us how compromised your Tamika Mallory is, and how she is basically been bought and paid for. And she's been bought and paid for years because she was a part of that white feminist march back when Trump was president. And she was one of the organizers of that whole movement. So she's not about Black empowerment. She is about trying to get herself ahead by using Black talking points. And that's something people really need to understand about your Tamika Mallory. She's not on our side, and she's all about getting herself ahead by using Black talking points and getting ahead at Black people's expense.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is I'm trying to find a video for everybody to see. I've played it before, but the main problem I had with that video was that aside from that, you're talking about selling, I guess, using activism to get a come up and hit a lick. My main issue too is that in the video you notice that it was about all women and how, and she opened it by saying something along the lines like, "I come from a very powerful line of women," and my first thoughts about that was, well, were your mothers and grandmothers blessed virgins? Because how did they procreate and have you? Where were your fathers? Do you have good men in your family? Do you like men? Have you laid down with a man? When I listen to stuff like this, because it's like you keep disrespecting black men every chance they get. Yet you claim to represent the black men. You stand on the graves of a Tamir Rice, of a Trayvon Martin, of a George Floyd, of a Alton Sterling. You make millions of dollars. Michael Brown's daddy has even been critical, saying that they got $29 million off of his son's name. And Tamir Rice's mother, I stand with her 100%. She didn't just talk about them. She also talked about Ben Crump. She talked about Lee Merrick. She mentioned that Ben Crump. I was listening to the video. I'll see if I can find it and play it. But she was doing an interview where she stated that the attorney said, they're not going to pay an angry black woman, something along those lines. I don't know how true that is, per se, what she said. I don't think she has a reason to lie. She's encountered a tragedy, and she's obviously very upset because she did not see justice done for her and her family. I'm finished. You can talk.
All right. When it comes down to Black Lives Matter, I am not a fan of this organization. I'm actually disgusted by them because what they do is they use the caskets of black men in order to push their misandristic agenda and their welfare state agenda. These women really, they're not concerned with trying to protect and preserve the lives of black men, which is what they originally came out here talking about as related to the injustice and as related to the murder of Trayvon Martin. No, they've got a whole different, completely different agenda that they're pushing. And what they want to do is go out here and use the caskets of black men as stairs in order to push their alphabet agenda, their single mother agenda, their welfare state agenda. And they want to push this whole agenda that is just an anti-black family and anti-black man. But you can't get people to understand the truth about Black Lives Matter. I mean, I did a live stream about a year ago where I talked about Black Lives Matter after reading the mission statement on their website. I practically deconstructed many of their talking points during that live stream. And I tried to explain to people then the talking point people are having now. I hear a lot of YouTubers and many others using the same talking point I came up with way back, I think about April or May of 2020, where I talked about how Black Lives Matter uses the caskets of black men as stepping stones in order to move their agenda. So I made that point over a year ago, and now it's becoming the daily word among black people, like Tamir Rice's mother and people like Michael Brown's father. So I don't know if they've watched my videos, but you're seeing more and more black people understanding what Black Lives Matter really is about. It's not about trying to get justice for black men, working on an agenda to protect and preserve the lives of black men, or be able to try to help show the value of a life of a black man. No, it's all about a group of these alphabet black women and these feminists and these social justice warriors running out whenever a black man is killed by a white cop or a non-black person or a white racist. They run out here and want to march and protest to push their agenda, but they don't want to go out here and help these black boys and these black men. Like I talked about in my live stream, they don't want to talk about black men's issues. They don't want to talk about the struggles of black men. They don't want to talk about getting black men empowered economically. They don't want to talk about showing the value of a black man's life. They don't want to talk about the importance of a black father. They don't want to talk about rebuilding the black family. No, none of those talking points are ever a part of Black Lives Matter. And the only time they come out again is when a black man is murdered by the police. And again, they use that black man's body and use his casket just to step over. And again, that's a disrespect towards black men, because the only time these people want to help a black man is when he's dead on the ground. They don't want to help a black man when he's alive. I mean, why don't they want to help a black boy or a black man when he's in school and struggling, or he's out here looking for work and trying to get himself back on his feet? I mean, if you really want to show that Black Lives Matter or a black man's life matters, you would try to help those black men. But this organization doesn't want to help black men. It just wants to go out here and, again, step on their graves and again walk over their graves in order to push dysfunctional anti-black man agendas. And then they want to sit there, and now that they're getting called out, they want to try to make it look like they're doing something that they're not. And I'm glad that more people are seeing the truth about Black Lives Matter, because this organization is anti-black man, anti-black family, and anti-black people.
I want to play the clip a little bit if I can. I can't find the commercial. I don't know if they've taken it down, but this was from courtesy of the African Diaspora channel. They have the clip here, but this is Samara Rice commenting on Tamika Mallory, Ben Crump, and a bunch of others. Obviously, that's.
I did not understand. We're communicating. It's kind of strange. It's kind of strange. Like certain times, I wanted to, stand up. My attorney at the time was Ben Crump, and he kind of told me like if they not gonna pay an angry black woman, and I was kind of limited to say what I wanted to say, and I'm like, it didn't feel good, and somewhat they kind of co-signed, certain individuals kind of co-signed that. And I'm not going to say all of the LGBT queer community has been good to me, but the ones that have been, they have, but the ones that actually, is under those certain type of teachings that they teach over at Black Lives Matter, whatever, they do have a certain type of way of just being all up in your business. But again, we're vulnerable, so we're talking, we're letting them know, because at that time we make them a part of our case, okay? Because we're looking for guidance, and at that time they're working with the attorney to to collab on whatever rally, whatever protest, whatever press conference that the person should be doing. And that's why you see Tamika Mallory, Ben Crump, and Shawn King at these protests, because they have taken over for the family. Especially in George Floyd, there's no mother and father. But in Breonna Taylor's case, the mother is there. She doesn't say very much. And I don't think we heard from the father. So it's kind of strange, because they hound you so much. Like, I don't even really believe that Tamika, and I'm gonna give you an example. I don't even believe Tamika Palmer is controlling her pages when it comes to Facebook and Instagram. Like, she's not controlling. That is not the work of, if you go to Instagram, look at Tamika Palmer's page. That is not the work of a mother. Look at my page and look at her page. They have kind of corporate her page for her. She don't know no better. She's vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? They not helping her. They not teaching her and things like that. Yeah. So I was a little bit different. Okay. I demanded answers. and they gave me the answers, and it wasn't going to work because I'm a different type of mom, okay? Tamir's 12. I have 3 other kids. I come straight from the gutter. You wasn't going to keep playing no game with me, baby. So they had to eventually be honest with me and real with me. And in that part, I can respect of the LGBT community, because eventually I had to got with another group of folks that was honest with me, telling me what the up and up. And I'm like, this shit ain't right. This shit ain't right. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to do nothing with them. No, nothing. But I've always had a relationship with all of them. I thought, but Opal, she always, she just always been genuine. I'm just gonna say that she never lied about anything. She always kept it real. But again, she does not make the decisions, and she has to be held accountable too. And I think she knows that. So it's all good. I take nothing back. I have no regrets.
I love that.
Yeah, when it comes to Shawn King, I think that he needs to find something else to do than to think he is a black news reporter. You don't have to keep reporting on our black news. Find something else to do that your community could benefit from, because you're not part of our community. Tamika Mallory, I hope that you can find a different career or use your platform to do whatever you have been doing. But you definitely have to come out this fight, Junior Sharpton. You got to come up out of here, because we're not getting no convictions. We're not getting no indictments. And we, like my sister said, we done followed you here, there, every damn where. And you have not showed us how to get a murder conviction. If all the smarts and the geniuses that you have, and you are working with these attorneys together, both of y'all should be able to come up with some indictments for these families. Okay, some murder charges. You got these attorneys, all the attorneys with their whatever brilliance they have, and then you have these activists. You'd have been in college, you done did this, you done been in organ. You got all type of skills up under your back. So you and the attorney should be making sure that we get murder convictions and indictments and stuff like that. So that's just where I'm at with all of this, and it's just a shame that it has came to this point. My poor sister Lisa, being in the fight while she's been home. Okay, did you hear that?
All right, so that she was going in on all of them, but essentially it's what I've always believed, and it's being, they're being exposed for this, as Shawn and I have alluded to. But she's more than just a woman in pain. She's peed off. She's peed off about it, and I'm glad that she is speaking out. I'm glad she's coming forward. I'm glad Michael Brown Sr. is coming forward. More people are waking up to this, because what we're witnessing essentially is a Ponzi scheme on black bodies. Shawn?
Yeah, we are seeing a Ponzi scheme on black families, because the whole thing is these guys are about getting attention for themselves at the expense of black men, and they're not about trying to get any sort of justice. And a lot of what we're seeing Tamir Rice's mom and Michael Brown Sr. doing are holding these people accountable. And I talked about this in many older videos I've done, that you have to look at the track records of many of these individuals. And when you look at their records, you're seeing no sort of success at all. I mean, you've got 0 convictions, 0 people going to jail, and 0 people being held accountable. And all we get are a bunch of people at the end of the process with sore throats and tired feet. And it's looking like Tamir Rice's mom and Michael Brown Sr. and many others are just tired of the sore throat, tired feet, vicious circle of marching and protesting and getting no results. And now we're seeing people coming to the perspectives I've presented saying, hey, let's look at the tangible results as related to these civil rights activists and these organizations. And they're saying to themselves, look, we're not getting any results. Every time we go out here with these people, all that we get is a bunch of media hype, but then no prosecutions in some cases, no sort of trials and convictions, and no sort of real change. And people are just fed up with groups like your Black Lives Matter, your people like your Ben Crump, people like your Tamika Mallory. They're tired of playing the shuck and jive, blame and shame game with these people, and they're tired of these people using their loved ones who have lost their lives as stepping stones to push other agendas instead of getting them tangible justice.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I think that I'm glad they have spoken out. The truth will win out at the end of the day. So more of this to follow as time goes by. One final thing I wanted to, I guess, talk with you about, Shawn. Uh, was curious, how are things in New York now? I've noticed they haven't been talking about Andrew Cuomo as much about stepping down. And I saw the ad. Well, it wasn't an ad, but the press conference he did with this old black woman last week was asking about the COVID shot and saying, I ain't gonna question it. I ain't gonna care what's in it. I'm gonna stick my arm out and all of that. And he was there behind smiling. What's going on with New York as far as the COVID-19 pandemic right now? Have things
Well, the pandemic is still the same as it always was. It's just, I mean, the numbers have dropped and things are starting to reopen slowly, but it's just really a slow process. It's not like Texas, which is completely open, or Florida, which is completely open. You have politicians here trying to manipulate people with things like this vaccine passport and other little schemes that they're trying to deal with, and they're trying to push and steer people towards vaccination. And what they're trying to do is try to push this in the black community at full force, but the black community really isn't going for it. And what's happening with Andrew Cuomo is that he's trying to play the long game. He's got his friends in the legislature out here talking about, oh, this process as related to the impeachment is going to take months. The investigation is going to take months. And he's trying to run out the clock as related to these allegations. And when he does that, he doesn't understand how he's undermining his own party. So he's trying to run out the clock, hoping that many of the NPCs out here who are on the left will go out here and start supporting him again. And they'll start to forget about these allegations as related to the hospitals and the nursing homes. And they'll forget all about these 10 women as related to these sexual harassment claims. But what he doesn't understand is he's just undermining his party by trying to run out the clock, because what's going to happen is the party is going to suffer, because the longer this scandal goes on, the more Republicans and independents can go out here and use these scandals to create negative ads against him and the party. And they can start going out here and saying that the party is corrupt. The party has a corrupt leader. And we've got more scandals, because there was a recent scandal talking about how Andrew Cuomo went out here and had his friends and family tested in the early days of COVID, and how he negotiated a $4 million book deal for himself during the pandemic. So the longer he stays in office, the more damage he does to the party. But he's thinking that he can manipulate people in a long-term game, but it's just going to blow up in his face, because, again, 2022 is around the corner, and he's only going to hurt New York's Democrats. He's going to hurt Democrats all across the country, because Republicans are just going to take him and Gavin Newsom and use them as poster boys for failure, and use them as poster boys for the failure of the pandemic and failures of the Biden agenda. If we continue to have successful economies like in Texas, Florida, South Dakota, and states like New York continue to struggle, this is going to be used he's going to be a political punching bag. And if he doesn't resign, he's going to do extreme damage to the party. And the party isn't really thinking critically about the big picture. He's thinking he can run out the clock as related to this chess game and wait people out. But the longer he stays in office, the more damage he does to the overall party, and may cost them seats in 2022, and may be used as ammunition to take away state houses in 2022.
Yeah. They have New Orleans actually. We are starting to reopen many of the things. I know in Louisiana, they're trying to actually get even full capacity back with some of the bars and indoor seating. Uh, so a lot of that is going on. And, I would say this too. I'm not, and I've spoken about this, I'm not necessarily one that you would call an anti vaxxer. I don't believe in not getting vaccines. There has been scientific evidence to show they have been effective. However, I think the thing and caution with this is that this is a new type, from what I've read, of vaccine, and I have to be careful because they will censor this on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah.
Some of it is true. My understanding is that it's an mRNA that they use, which deals with even the RNA that you have in your body. Of course, you're made up of DNA, and you also have RNA, and somehow it computes with it. And I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not an expert in viruses and in medicines and so forth. I'm not a doctor, so I respect those that practice medicine. And I think it's important though that we all be informed about what we're getting and what's dealing with this. Because I've just been thinking about it a little bit more. I have family members who have taken it. They have not had side effects. I know of those who I have heard stories of those who have taken it, and some people have had one lady. This is just one who took the Pfizer vax. She claims that it caused her to have a stroke. Uh, I've seen a video of somebody who took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. There was an actual story, and he ended up developing a severe rash. Those things happen. It's not uncommon. Any medicine you put in your any drugs or medicine you put in your body can have some type of adverse reaction to you. Pharmaceutical industries, they don't necessarily cure the disease. They like to keep you sick, and so you can keep spending more and more money. Because if there was money in the cure, and they were able to cure it, well, there would be if there was money made in the cure, they would do it. But the money is not in the cure. The money is in when you're sick. You're sickly, and this is how we treat it. I'm gonna keep giving you drugs, and I'm gonna keep having you come back. So it's something to be informed about. I'm not gonna tell people not to get it, but I guess a lot of people and don't like, and especially the pandering and the forcing. I think that they're trying to do on people to get it. Like when we saw that Run DMC video, and you're up in New York, and you saw it when DMC was rapping to that cartoon.
Yeah, I saw that clown show. I mean, if there's no need to pander to people. I mean, you just either let people make their choices, but when you go out here and pander, it shows one, insecurity, and it shows no confidence. And these are two problems with everybody with this whole vaccine, is that they don't really trust people to go out here and do what they would do in their best interest. They want to try to ram it down people's throats and tell people their way is the best. And this is just part of America's culture. We have a problem with a lot of people who are just extremely insecure. And instead of them trusting people, they just want to try to ram their agenda and their way down people's throats. And that really alienates people, because you have to give people space to think about things and make their own choices. And you can't force people to make your own choices because you want things to go a certain way. And this is a big problem with our culture. These insecure people, they don't really have the faith in other people, and they want to just make everything one way. And when you try to do that, all you're going to do is make people skeptical of you, because if you've got to try to push so hard and pander, try to make me, persuade me, then there's got to be something wrong with it. Because if something is good, word of mouth will be able to spread and be able to get people to go out here and want to go out here and get this.
Yeah. Well, Shawn, I will not keep you tonight, brother, any further. I know it's late over there, and you still may be in the editing room. I know the work doesn't stop for you.
Yeah.
Same here. I got to get to making some exams and so forth, writing questions. But it's a pleasure to have you on. Those that have been tuning in, I want to thank Brother Derrick Bailey for your donation. I appreciate it. Y'all, please buy Shawn Haynes' new latest book, John Haynes. I'm sorry, Shawn James, excuse me. Latest book, John Haynes Taking Care of Business, that's on Amazon.com. That is, again, John Haynes Taking Care of Business on Amazon.com. We do this every Thursday. I do this Sunday and Tuesday. Likely, I will not have a live stream on Sunday, being it's Easter. But you all have a blessed Easter Sunday if you celebrate that. Enjoy time with your families. Farside said it's 11:26 p.m. Yeah, so, well, I mean, it's still close to 12 o'clock. So I know you like to, it's still getting late at the end.
Yeah, I got books to edit, and just want to say to everybody, I'm looking for my first paperback and ebook sale for the month of April. So I really would appreciate it if you guys went out here and picked up John Haynes Taking Care of Business or the upcoming ISIS Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. I really thank you for your support in advance, because without you, I wouldn't be able to continue producing books on the SJS Direct imprint or making videos.
Have a great weekend, and watch out for those $6 sundresses. I got to see that video. I haven't seen it. I didn't know what that was about. You were making a video about the sundresses?
Yeah, it's about these females who are wearing these $6 sundresses they get from the discount stores, and a lot of guys, they get caught up in how good these women look in the $6 sundress, and before they know it, they wind up either winding up getting this woman pregnant, and eventually she becomes a single mother who takes them for child support, or he winds up getting into a fight with another dude over this female, and he winds up either dead or in prison. So I wanted guys to know to look out for the females in the $6 sundresses who they think look so good, because behind that sundress and that dollar pair of flip-flops is a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Before you go, it's interesting you said that. I brought this up, that thing with Quavo and Saidi, where she's accusing him of, well, they broke up, and this happened last year. They got a video, TMZ got a video from last year of him. He didn't punch her or anything like that. She actually threw, from the video when it starts, she threw a punch at him, and he grabs her. She tries to grab his suitcase, and he throws her in the elevator, or pushes her in the elevator, and she falls on the ground, and he's on the ground with her and standing up and so forth. I didn't know if you ever saw that video.
I haven't seen that video yet. I've been a little behind on things. I mean, right now I just had to reshoot a video about Chet Hanks and his black girlfriend, and it's another incident of swirling gone wrong. So I have to get caught up on certain subjects. I haven't really paid too much attention to that one because I've been busy making videos, working on the new book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. And I've just been, again, really busy getting ready to do these fall books for 2021. And I'm getting ready to do some of the 2022 books for the SJS Direct imprint.
That's the actual video there, Shawn. To answer your question, far side, Fortnite, I just got this chair because I thought it was cool. So if that's why I like if I say I like Fortnite for that, that's why. I do like a few. I have seen some of their games though that are pretty cool. But that was the video that happened. And they've broken up already. There were no charges filed, so I didn't even know why this was big news anyway, if they weren't pressing charges on it. But similar brothers, y'all got to stay out of these elevators with these women. I mean, Ray Rice, Jay-Z.
Yeah. But I find it interesting that nobody was talking about Chet Hanks. Everybody's talking about Quavo and Swati or whatever her name is. But nobody's talking about Chet Hanks and his black girlfriend.
And Chet Hanks is, of course, the son of Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Nobody's saying a single word about him and the domestic violence he's had, similar to what happened with Chad Wheeler. Everybody's talking about these two, but nobody's saying a word about Chet Hanks and his black girlfriend and how she wound up allegedly assaulting him in a domestic violence incident. Find it funny that when the white men go out here and participate in this kind of violence, the media doesn't say a single word about it. But when the black man is in an incident where he's not even the assailant, he's being attacked, and he's just out here, he's made out to be another black brute of the month.
Yeah. Now I see this other video here. I'm about to wrap it up, but y'all should take a look at this one. I just noticed this. This is on TMZ as well, because they'll play videos automatically, but a cop apparently is assaulting a teenager.
He is saying he is gonna say something.
When you flipped off a couple times and run from, give me your ID.
Do you hear that? It's the Sound Education Center working smoothly behind the scenes to curate its own content.
Don't run from me or I'll beat your right here. Turn around and put your hands behind your back before I beat it out of you.
Information.
Don't be stupid.
And over to tvameritrade.com/education.
What did I tell you?
Oh.
Turn around and put your hands behind your back. Oh. And all I was going to do was talk to you. But now,
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up.
That's assault battery.
He clearly escalated that incident. I mean, we clearly see excessive force here and a clear escalation of violence on that young man. I mean, he blew it out of proportion.
Well, they always escalating these situations. They're the ones that cause this stuff, just like with George Floyd. So
yeah.
Shawn, I appreciate you being on with me. I gotta go in a second myself. You guys, please check out again by John Haynes Taking Care of Business by Shawn James on Amazon. Yeah, that was a sheriff. That was a deputy for the tech out in Texas. I don't know what city that was in, but they say he's under investigation. He needs to be fired and face charges for assault. So anyway, man, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, and thank you all for tuning in. You guys, please donate to the Cash App on the ticker below. Gavin Richard Esquire. Shout out to Derrick Bailey. Shout out, Rosalind, Chad Hanks and Chet Hanks and Chad Wheeler. Farside, Dawn, I see you. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on channel GBoo2786 on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter at GavinRich2786. I'll holla. Peace and blessings, guys. Good night.
Night.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you.